In today's video, we're going to Europe, precisely France, to look into some of the terrifying urban legends and creatures they believe in. Before we start, don't forget to smash the subscribe button and join the channel. Let's do it all together in 3, 2, 1. The first creature, Ankou. The Ankou is the personification of death at the heart of Breton mythology and folklore. It is recognized within the French region of Brittany. Yet, we find origins that would come from vestiges of the ancient eponymous kingdom, and even from the Celtic heritage. It is considered as a protector for the deceased, but also a bad omen for the living. It has also inspired many modern works and stories. In the beginning, the Ankou was described as a being in charge of perpetuating the eternal cycle alternating between life and death. Its name is the plural of Ankin, which means anguish or sorrow in Breton. Ankou appears as a man or skeleton wearing a black robe and a large hat which conceals his face, or, on occasion, simply as a shadow. He wields a scythe and is said to sit atop a cart for collecting the dead, or to drive a large black coach pulled by 4 black horses and accompanied by 2 ghostly figures on foot. According to one legend, Ankou was the first child of Adam and Eve. Other versions depict Ankou as the first dead person of the year, though he is always depicted as a male adult, charged with collecting other souls before he can go to the afterlife. In an alternate origin, he was a cruel prince who met death during a hunting trip and challenged him to see who could kill a black stag first. Death won the contest, and the prince was cursed to roam Earth as a ghoul for all eternity. Ankou is mentioned by Anatole Le Braz, a writer and collector of legends, in his book The Legend of Death. The Ankou is the henchman of death, and he is also known as the graveyard watcher. They said that he protects the graveyard and the souls around it for some unknown reason, and he collects the lost souls on his land. When there has been in a year more deaths than usual, one says about the Ankou, "On my faith, this one is a nasty Ankou." Every parish in Brittany is said to have its own Ankou. The Ankou never brings bad luck to anyone. He is always polite, especially to the people he came for. And even when he is angry, he is content with the mild reprimands. He only follows his duty without worrying about supplications or promises of reward. We cannot escape death, no matter how hard we try, and the Ankou never fails to remind everyone he meets. In Breton tradition, the squealing of railway wheels outside one's home is supposed to be the wheelbarrow of Ankou. Similarly, the cry of the owl is referred to as the death bird. In Ireland, there is a proverb that states, "When the Ankou comes, he will not go away empty." Scary. Now, let me tell you a few tales and legends about the Ankou. First, the story of the blocked road. 3 brothers return home in the evening after a party and, being quite drunk, decide to play a prank on a car that takes a nearby road, blocking it with a dead tree. Later that night, they are awakened by someone who knocks violently on their door, who orders them to go and remove the tree blocking the way. He knows they are the ones who put the tree there. Then the 3 brothers open the door but find nothing and no one. Yet they cannot close it, even if they make great effort. They ask who is there and what they want, and hear a threatening voice ordering them to return to the road they blocked. The frightened brothers complied without any questions. They then discovered that the stranger is none other than the Ankou himself. He tells them that since he wasted an hour of his time because of their prank, they will all die an hour earlier. He adds that they are lucky to have obeyed immediately, because otherwise they would have lost a year of their lives for every minute he would have wasted. There is a variant of this tale in which three drunk brothers or friends come home in an evening and stumble upon the Ankou, which they do not recognize. Two of them begin to insult the stranger and throw stones at him, until one of them breaks a spoke of a wheel of his cart. While the two flee, the third, ashamed of the actions of his comrades, and his own too, cuts down a tree branch and gives it a broad so that he can repair his cart. Then he also gives his shoelaces to tie the cart. In the morning, the first two are found dead, while the hair of the third one turned completely white. The second tale, The Cart of Death. This tale tells the story of a young man who, one night, recognizes the creak of the cart of the Ankou, but instead of fleeing, he decided to hide to see with his own eyes the omen of death without being noticed. As the cart passes nearby, a spoke of its wheels break, and the Ankou orders one of his ghost assistants to fetch a branch from the bush where the young man is hiding to repair it. The Ankou does not notice the young man, but he still pays the price for his daring curiosity, because he catches a fever and dies the very next day. The third tale, The Ankou and the Blacksmith. This story is about a man named Fanch or Flock, a skilled blacksmith who works constantly as he always accepts more tasks than he can perform. On Christmas Eve, he decides not to attend midnight mass to complete his most important task. He asks his wife and children to pray for him, and they warned him that he must at all costs stop working before the bell rings at midnight, lest he would be cursed. Unfortunately, Fanch is so absorbed in his task that he does not hear the bell and continues to work. Then, a stranger dressed in black, whose face is hidden by a hat, knocks on his door and informs him that the bell had already rung. The stranger asks Fanch to fix his scythe, and Fanch obeys. When this had been done, the stranger is revealed to be the Ankou who has come to claim the life of the one who neglected the Night of Wonders. As Fanch has repaired his scythe, the Ankou allows him to wait for the return of his family, to say goodbye and ask for the presence of a priest before returning to take his soul. The second creature, Carcolh. The tale of Carcolh is as mysterious as it gets. A legend from French folklore that has been plaguing people's fears for at least over a century now. Yet, it is argued by some that the Carcolh may have existed long before that timeline. Carcolh, or the Carcolh, is a mythical beast from the French folklore. It is described as a large, slimy, snail-like serpent with hairy tentacles and a large shell. It is said to live in the cavern beneath Hastings, a town in the Légende region in southwest France. The Carcolh slime could sometimes be seen long before the creature itself arrives. Nobody dares to approach the creature, as unwary person would be grabbed by its tentacles, dragged into the cave, and devoured whole. Clearly, the stories were not exaggerating when they said that the Carcolh's tentacles were incredibly long. In fact, they were so long that they could stretch far enough to reach a victim that is miles away from the rest of its own body's location. Although defeating Carcolh is likely out of the question, there is still one thing that could relieve your fears: the fact that the Carcolh is not fond of daylight. Mythical and legendary monsters are often products of a long-forgotten time. Yet, In the case of Carcolh, studies found no recorded reference of the creature from before the 20th century, making its lore particularly newer than its supposed contemporaries. In a more positive light, though believers of the lore claim that there hasn't been a single sign of the legendary beast in about 50 years, some think that the beast has since died. Others say that it is alive, but it is in a deep hibernation. Living underground in a network of galleries, the Carcolh very rarely rises to the surface, and only with the intention of hunting. For this, he digs a hole connected to his gallery and covers it with branches and twigs. He remains hidden deep inside on the lookout for days. The prey that falls in the trap is instantly seized by its tentacles and then swallowed in one bite. The Carcolh attacks humans only in an exceptional way. The Carcolh is a nickname given to the city of Hastings in French department Légende, due to its situation on a rounded-shaped hill. Furthermore, the men of Hastings used to say as a pleasant warning to young women and pretty women who go out at night, "The Carcolh will catch you." The third creature, la Velue. The peluda in Spanish, or la Velue, meaning the hairy one, is a mythical beast that terrorized the inhabitants near the river Win during the Middle Ages. It is called the shaggy beast or the hairy beast of La Ferté-Bernard. According to the lore region, the beast was excluded from Noah's Ark, yet survived the deluge, meaning the biblical flood. The story goes that on the banks of the Win lived a monster that attacks farm animals. It preyed on animals and sometimes on women and children. La Velue sometimes walked the streets of cities such as La Ferté-Bernard. It is known to have frightened the population in the 14th century. It seems that ancient scrolls were present in the year 1030. According to the legend, La Velue would return to travel the Win River every 90 years. It seems, according to some sources, that it existed long before the flood. The testimonies seem quite numerous. One document tells that the mysterious creature was the size of a large ox. I quote, "Its body was shaped like a huge egg, covered with long green hairs, in the middle of which emerged sharp arrows whose stings was deadly. It also seems that it was able to spit a vomit of flame. Its legs were wide and resembled those of turtles. It had a long tail that resembled a snake. When La Velue was frightened or attacked, she would dive into the river and make it overflow, which caused floodings in the area." The story goes that La Velue once attacked a young girl and dragged her to the bottom of the river under the old bridge in Ivry-l'Évêque. The young woman's fiancé armed himself with a sword and allegedly managed to cut off the tail of the beast, who died as a result of her wounds. In some legends, the creature survived and continued to roam the area. If you live in France and heard of these legends, leave your comment below and tell us more about these stories. If you're watching this video anywhere from the world, I know each place and region is filled with legends and mythical creatures. So let us all know about the urban legends and the creatures your region believes in. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video. See you next time, and until then, don't believe everything you see.